this hive, this Layens hive, is very heavy. And so I'm going to pull it to my new location on top of a pallet. If anybody knows how to do a poor man's way of doing stuff, boy, that would be me. So I'm going to figure out how to move this heavy hive the poor man's way with things that I have. That's what beekeepers do. Chains and ropes have always been my thing. Now, chains, if you're not experienced with chains and you want to use them, here's what my dad taught me. He said, never put a chain together like that. And so what it's made to do is you go between the links like that. And that's the best way to do it. That'll hold. Then on the other side, I've made kind of a skid out of this pallet. I'm going to take my chain and I'm going to put it on the front of the pallet, because as I pull, that'll kind of lift up the front over the grass. So I'm going to go through it like that, but you just go between the chains, like between the links like that. Now, since I'm going to be pulling up, it's probably best to have it sitting there like that. You kind of want to start off sort of slow, just in case one of those links doesn't grab. Here it comes. I chose this location here. We had this berm kind of built over here to block some of the strong southern winds. So I'm going to put a few hives over here, and I thought it'd be great to put some of my hives that I'm working for the first time, like this Layens hives over here. Gives me a lot of southern wind block. Hope you will subscribe and click on the bell. You'll be notified each time I make a new video. Bearsville bees. Now, I paid for this hive with my own money. I bought it down at the Honeybee Expo because I wanted to get more experience working these Layens hives. And so I thought I'd just buy one. I'm going to pop in here real quick and let you know about our live stream coming up this Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Good time for question and answers if you're wondering about what to do with the new hive that you have. And we're giving away this top-down thermal imaging camera. Check out my live stream this Thursday night, 7 p.m. Here's the link right here. Let's keep working this hive. I'm glad that it's built sturdy to take my abuse. All right, let's get this pallet out of there. I took the frames out to make it a lot lighter. This is going to be where the bees will be coming in and out toward the front, down low. And I'm going to need enough room to stand back here between this berm and work it like this. And I took the frames out to help transport it. But now I feel like I need to put something underneath the legs so I don't have grass growing up. Again, I said this would be a poor man's way of doing things. I found this attic mate material. And it'll kill the grass if I can get it underneath this hive. It's just kind of a styrofoam stuff that you put up in the attic. So we'll see if we can get a couple of pieces under here. Get some legs under it. Should smash down pretty good. Now in just a minute it'll be fun because I'm going to dump a package of bees in here. Couldn't figure out any way to get any nooks in here because the Layens frames are a different size. So I'm going to just pour one of my packages in here. And here are the Layens frames. This is how these are built. Look at that. It actually has two sheets that are normally this way, but they're placed this way. Now, that's a little bit of a question mark because these, the way the hexagons are made, they really should, the bees would make it this way. So I think the only thing that bees would naturally do would be to start pulling it. Well, it's going to be like this. So I think they'll start pulling it out, but that's going to be the wrong way for them because the point of a cell isn't at the top. I think they'll pull it out and twist it. I think that's what Bob told me that made this, that people have been saying. And so that'd be interesting, because otherwise you would have to turn these pieces the correct way. So the point, the connection point, is at the top rather than flat at the top. I don't know, but the bees don't seem to be able to be troubled by it from what I've heard. Now, I want to show you a couple of things about the Layens Hive. If you take a look at the measurements, it should be about 13 inches. This is a hair over 13. This is the typical Layens width of a frame. And then from top to bottom, look at that, 16 inches. So that's what the typical Layens frame size is. 13 by 16. To give you an idea, in comparison, a deep frame from a Langstroth hive and a Layens hive. So if you compare the two, you can see the difference in the size of the width. And let me keep it the same at the top. And look at that, how much deeper it is. And if you measure the typical Langstroth width, and let's just go from sidebar to sidebar, you're looking at approximately about 17 3/4 sidebar to sidebar. Or in other words, if you go across the top, it measures about 19. But this way, a deep frame is about 9 1/8. You can see here, about 9 1/8. That shows you the difference between traditional Langstroth frames and then the Layens frame. So let's get that package installed. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to show you this. Not a bottom board. This is a follower board. I'm going to actually install my package probably on this side over here, like the first 4 frames over here, 4 or 5 frames. Then I put the follower board in there just to force him to stay on those 4 frames. And then I'll move this along toward you as the season progresses to give the bees more room.
Now we open it up, and it's pretty deep inside here. We're going to be putting some frames in, kind of getting it all set up just for installer package. Now this is a follower board, got a little label on there for the wood, but the follower board, I'm really impressed how tight it fits in here on each side of the wall. It's going to keep bees from traveling past it. Here's the place I'm going to dump all the bees into from the package. So I've got a little spot picked out there and get our package ready. I want to talk about the package a little bit. I like to open it up from this end like this. 2 little tabs you can spring out. And then that door on the end just opens up, and here comes all the bees. And away they go. They're glad to be out and do some flying and get into a hive. But bees are exoskeletons, so you're not going to really hurt bees by shaking them around like that. Some people don't like to shake bees, but we've got to get them in there. Now, you're always going to have a few left over in the cage. We'll deal with those later. But we need to get our queen. Now, right here is a pink tab. Let me get this candy out of the way. It's in a container. This is what the bees eat while they're in transport in this package. But the queen cage is on a little pink tab that's tethered to the cap of the queen, and that's to keep her in there close to the hive so they can start getting used to her pheromones. But here's the queen cage. The queen is in there walking around by herself, no attendants, and they feed her through that cage. And what I want to be sure to do here is take this cap off of the queen cage. That exposes the candy. Now, the bees are going to want to eat through the candy, not the queen, but the bees. And as they eat through this candy, they're actually going to get her out. So what we're trying to do is have what we call a slow release. We're wanting the queen to get familiar and the bees to get familiar with her because they don't know her. This isn't their queen from the hive they were from generally. So I'm taking out a little bit of candy here because that's a lot of candy, and she has been in there a few days with her, with the hive. Now I've got to push all of these frames back over there, but those bees are in the way, but we'll figure out how to deal with that. We're just going to get the queen set and kind of get things where we want them. So empty out the bees. They like eating the candy in there, as you can see. We put hard candy in that. Now I'm just sliding these frames over, and it is going to be a little challenging in the installation because Bees are going to get between the top bars of those frames. I don't want to kill any bees, but I'll do the best to kind of brush them around. We need to move those bees kind of into the inside of the hive, of this new Layens Hive. Again, this installation of a package is about the only way I could figure out how to get bees in there, since all of my nukes that we make actually are on deep frames and not this size of a Layens frame. So what we'll do is keep moving these frames to where we have a gap where now we can lower the queen down. Here's the queen cage. I want to suspend it, and I'm going to tie a long rubber band onto it and get these bees off. And the queen is in there. So once I get this rubber band tied on, I can just lower it down in between the frames and then push these frames back together. She'll be suspended in there, and the bees will slowly begin to eat through the candy. Within 24 hours, 48 hours, they'll remove that candy and they'll have released their queen. They'll be used to her, and all will be well. I'm going to take my smoker now, and let's see if we can get some bees to move out of the way. I've got a couple of frames here. I got one gap still remaining, and I don't want to kill bees by just shoving it together, because that's a pretty big space and a lot of bees are on it. But I'll use my smoker and use my bee brush. Finally got them out of the way there. And now let's take our queen cage, work it down between this gap at the end. I've got all my bees from the package poured on this right side of the hive. So now I'm lowering the queen cage down in there. And then I've got my staple gun ready, a cordless staple gun. The trick is going to be able to get the staple to hold this rubber band in position. I got to get a pretty tight staple in there, and that will help suspend it. So here we go. Let's see how this works out. Don't want to staple a bee down either. And oh, nailed it. One of the staple legs went right into the rubber band. That's solid. That was pretty fortunate. So now just a lot of brushing and smoking. I got all the frames back together without killing any bees. And now I'm just going to quickly put all the other frames in the back of the hive. Now you can see in the middle there's a frame with two X's on each end. That's the follower board. So everything to the right of the follower board is where the bees are. And I'm just going to let them stay there for maybe a week or two and expand. So smoking the bees, getting them out, getting them out of the way, and we close up. Now look at this. This is beautiful. I do love the quality of this Layens Hive. Now this over here, I need to close this off, keep mice out, other insects. No bees are over there, just a gap right now. So close that off. Now the next day, I noticed bees were drinking water from one of those little pads I put underneath the hive. Look at that. Kind of a little thirsty, I guess, in their package. So they're just found the water. Look at them the next day, how busy they are, coming and going. I looked for pollen, but I didn't see any pollen. But it's just beautiful watching bees. Just take a moment and just look how happy these bees are to be out of their package, out of their cage, and just out flying in nature. That's just beautiful. And I love how quickly bees will adapt to a new home. Doesn't that look beautiful? They're going to love it out there. Now, if you're anything like I was when I first started keeping bees, I had trouble figuring out what I was looking at on my frames. I just made a new video for you guys, how to read your frames, how to look at your frames, know what you're seeing, and know what to do. Check it out right here. I'll see you guys over there.